Hello there, and welcome to episode 2 of the Or So She Says podcast. My name is Narissa Shea, and I am a personal trainer, EIQ certified nutritionist, a yoga instructor, a sport and exercise psychology consultant, and a professional Irish dancer. I am so excited for this episode today because it is a topic that constantly comes up in my DMs and in conversations with clients, friends, family members. It also seems to be a topic I personally feel a lot of people struggle with, especially in Ireland, where there is a huge drink culture. And I actually don't think enough people talk about it. I am so excited to have Colm Doolan on to talk to today. This guy is just such an inspiration. I've actually been following him for quite a while now, and he's just an absolute joy to follow along on his journey. He also has his own podcast that I love to listen to called The Sober Mess. And actually, for selfish reasons, I am buzzing to get chatting to him because I have recently decided to quit the drink. And I'm actually really looking forward to hearing all about how Colm did it, how he navigated sobriety in a nation where usually the main point of attraction for everyone's weekend is the pub, and how giving up the drink actually changed his life. So it's worth pointing out, before I jump into this episode, I am not here to bash on drink and condemn people for drinking. I'm just talking about a topic that is close to my heart and has really affected me, especially over the last few years. It's also a topic that whenever I put up a post or a blog about how drink affects people, it tends to get a lot of attention. And people are often reaching out to me like for some advice and stuff like that. And people seem to be struggling with this a lot. So that's why I actually decided, it's probably best to get someone on who is better able to give advice in this area. Hence why I got in touch with Colm. Before I jump in, I gave up the drink for 4 months last year. And I actually wrote a blog about it. The amount of messages I received from people saying how much it resonated with them was actually crazy. So before I jump in with the interview with Colm, I'm going to actually read out this blog that I wrote last year because I feel like it resonates a lot with people and it's quite personal as well. And I think it gives you a very good background as to why I kind of want to talk about this topic. So with that in mind, here we go. Why I decided to give up the drink. Sesh Narissa over and out. Now, all jokes aside, this is something I've been contemplating for quite a while now. Anyone who knows me, especially from the ages of 16 to 30, will say, "Oh, Narissa, she fucking loves the sesh. Great crack, always up for pints. Last one standing at the end of the night, etc, etc." It actually kind of annoys me in Ireland that the only valid reasons for not drinking at social occasions are I'm driving, I'm pregnant, I'm a recovering alcoholic. It's as if you do not want to drink, there has to be a reason. We Irish are a nation known for our love of the sauce, and rightly so. We cannot deny that as a whole, we are quite known for being binge drinkers who drink to get a loco. We wouldn't be known for being the type of people that go to brunch and have one glass of wine. Not everyone. I know some people who can actually have one glass of wine and park it. I am not that person, nor am I someone who actually likes the taste of drink. I drink for a purpose, and that has always been to get drunk. I sound like an alco, but bear with me. This was all fun and games until about maybe 2-3 years ago, when it wasn't just a headache and feeling sick anymore. It was genuine anxiety and uneasiness. I wouldn't be able to eat. Not because I was sick from the shots, I probably was, but I actually just could not shake that feeling of antsiness and pure anxiety that would hit me like a wave, roughly around the afternoon time after a night on the beer. It wasn't beer fear. Even if I wasn't that drunk the night before and did absolutely nothing to be fearful about, I could not shake that uneasy feeling. I'm a bit of a control freak, and I like to be in control of what I can control. Factors within my control. I train hard, eat well, to look after my body and mind. I read, meditate, practice yoga for my body and mind. I try to surround myself with like-minded people who are on a journey of self-development. And all this leaves me feeling very much in control of factors within my control. So what is the beef with drink? It is not the loss of control on a night out. To be honest, I'm probably too drunk to notice that. It's the next day, that feeling of what I can only describe as existential dread is something I just cannot seem to shake. It leaves me feeling like a shell of the person I know I can be. So I've come to the conclusion, is the couple of hours on the sesh really worth the 2 to 3 days of hell after? Because let's be honest, you don't ever feel too minty fresh the day after the day after. You're still groggy as fuck. So if you're reading this or listening to me, originally this was a blog post, and you see me out and about drinking a Diet Coke, please don't feel the need to throw in some vodka for good measure. Since deciding to do this, everyone I've met so far jumps on the bandwagon of saying, oh, it's because you're a big fitness head now. And I promise you that is not the case. Okay, truth be told, I would much rather use my calories on food, but that is far from the reason why I have decided to do this. I actually think it's yoga that allowed me to come to terms with this. Practicing yoga for me personally is empowering, as it allowed me to really dig deep and get in touch with myself on both a mental and physical level. I have spent so much of my life ignoring all the things my body has been trying to tell me. Dancing through injuries, not resting when I'm clearly exhausted, starving myself for upcoming tours, events, etc., keeping myself so busy to distract myself from anxiety. Drinking, even though I knew deep down it wasn't just your average hangover anymore. It was like I was in a constant battle with my own mind and body. Yoga has changed that. It's not that it happened overnight, it didn't. Big changes rarely do, but my mindset has shifted in the last 2 years. And the common denominator, along with the spiraling effects of the amazing places, people and things I've experienced since, has come from starting to finally listen to my body. I urge you that if something doesn't feel quite right, whatever that may be, dig deep, question it. There is a reason why you are feeling a certain way, and do not ignore that. Magic things start happening when you begin to listen. And with all that in mind, let's get stuck in to chatting with Colm.
Hello, Colm. How are you? I am so happy to have you on.
I'm good. I'm just great to be here and having the chats, and yeah, it's great to see you. And I love the idea of the podcast now, and you're moving into the podcast world, and it's where all the goodness is at. So yeah, it's nice to be online and sitting here having the chats. No tea, unfortunately.
I can't believe it's taken doing a podcast for me to actually reach out to you to have a chat with you, because I always see you online and I'm like, God, like he does not live that far away. How have I not met him for a coffee or something at this point?
It's bizarre, isn't it? That's the mad thing. Like sometimes I find you're just having a chat with someone, like, you know, and it's like someone and you like that vibe, and that's the great thing about being a podcast, because you can't just reach out to random on Instagram and be like, hey, do you want to like have a chat? They just meet up and like have a chat about something, like, you know, whereas you do a podcast, you're like, oh, do you want to come on and like do a podcast and have a chat? And they're like, yeah. And then you're like having this chat with someone that you kind of think is cool on Instagram, and it's just like, Dad, it's like an excuse not to be like a weirdo for asking randomers for a chat, like, you know what I mean? That last thing seems sound. I wouldn't mind asking him for a chat, like, you know, just go for a walk, bro. Just talk. It'll be.
Oh my God, imagine, like, it's just so funny. That's just so unheard of these days. But to reach out to someone online and just be like, yeah, do you want to come on for a chat so everyone can hear it? Yeah, that's totally normal.
Yeah, do you want to come? Will you be my friend? Do you want to come for the chat? Yeah. Come out, game heads and volleys. Game of knick knock.
Please be my friend. Come here. Right. So I love your podcast, and I actually listened to your podcast last year, and then I started listening to it again recently, which is why when I thought of doing this as a topic, I was driving along the M50 and you popped in my head randomly. And I was like, oh my God, I'm going to message Colm. Literally just randomly messaged them in that moment. I was like, I have to get him on it, but I'm going to talk about this. I need to get him on. And I was like, he's going to think this is so random, because I was just like in the middle of the M50. I was like, mad traffic. I could hear beeping and everything. And I was like, I have to message him now.
Yeah, I know. When I heard your voice now, I heard it like sirens and people screaming. And I was like, Jesus, I wonder what's going on in the M50, you know? I'm only messing.
It was me. I caused
it was worth it, yeah.
So come here. I know all about your background because I stalked your podcast and I kind of stalk your Instagram. I was going to say I watch your Instagram, but I'm going to call it spade. I stalk your Instagram. But why don't you tell me all about your background, what you do, your journey maybe with sobriety? I love this story.
I get to talk about my favorite topic, about myself, you know. No, yeah, look, do you know what? Like, the reason I started my own podcast was just to put the message out there, you know, because I would have had my own struggles around my mental health and addiction and things like that. And I always found I was quite, when I was struggling with it, I felt quite lonely in it. That wasn't something that was in the open conversations at sitting around the table in the family home or in the bar or, you know, in the canteen. Like, no one openly talked about their struggles, you know what I mean? Be it internally or at home or whatever that thing was. And, you know, so when I remember having a chat down to 44 and, you know, I was just talking to someone in the sea, you know, and so we just end up having this real deep conversation and real open and honest conversation. And someone that was swimming beside us was like, "Oh, geez, that's really powerful. I was just listening to you there. You know, you should put it on a podcast. A lot of people would appreciate that." And me being like, "Oh, Jesus, you know what? Maybe I should, like, you know." And then and then the next day, you know, I was down there and I was talking to someone else, and they gave me this really inspirational quote, being like, "Well, look, if you're gonna do the podcast, you have to ask yourself, is it going to be day one or one day?" You know, and so with that, then on the way home from the 44, I went to Deals and got home and recorded and downloaded an app on my phone and recorded a podcast and put it out, and then I got loads of good feedback, and so yeah, I've just been doing it ever since. But yeah, like my story, like, you know, I would have grown up in like a typical Irish family. You know, I would have had a big family, you know, three siblings and three brothers and three sisters. So it's 6 siblings. And, you know, and as a kid, you know, I came from like a perfectly normal, dysfunctional family, you know what I mean? But I always had that feeling of being different. I don't know where it came from. I just always felt out of place, felt like a black sheep, felt like an imposter, and just always felt odd and nearly just kind of trying to pretend to be normal around people, if that makes sense. And when I was about 12, or 11 or 12, I remember my mom went on this kind of geographical buzz, you know what I mean? She just went mad moving everywhere. It's just her way of coping with life, you know? And I think she kind of, you know, just something went and she just wanted to move a lot, you know? So we moved. I think I was in about 15 different schools in the space for about 2 or 3 years. And, you know, and I remember moving to these places, you know, I remember going there and, you know, having to leave my friends in Dublin, and my mom was like, "Don't worry, you'll make so many nice friends in Wexford." And I was remember thinking, oh no, go on, you'll be grand. Hey, look, I'll buy these football stickers or, you know, Pokemon cards, or whatever the trend was at the time. You'll get on great, you know. And I remember going into this school and, you know, I think I was only in like fucking second class or something, and all these kids were like in the school there going, "So you're from Dublin, are you?" I said, "Yeah." "I bet you smoke heroin and you rob cars." I'm like, "What?" I was like, "Hey, I'm only 10, like, you know what I mean?" And so I felt this just instant rejection, like, you know, and I was like, "Fuck." So I remember going home and being like to me, "Man, look, I hate it here. You know, I can't wait to go back with my friends in Dublin. They appreciate me and like me." And, you know, so the weekend then I went back with the mates in Dublin, and I remember going, "Oh, right, lads, just a crack." And they all said, "Oh, here's the farmer now, you know, here's the bogger and all this." I was like, "I'm only living down the Wexford a week." So I found myself always trying to kind of reinvent myself, you know, and I became like this chameleon where I just morph into the crowd, you know, just to be liked and accepted. And I like, I had this overwhelming feeling and need to get approval of people. I just couldn't be myself. It could be anyone but me. If you told me, like if you told me, I don't really, I'm not a massive fan of cricket. I don't think I've ever watched a cricket game. But if you told me you like cricket, I'd show up with the cricket bat and the jersey and, just please God, just like me, And so I found myself wearing all these masks, to hide who I really was, because I thought the real me wouldn't be liked or whatever. And, so I didn't know if it was the tough guy or the poet or the nature guru or the spiritual guy or what it was, but it was able to morph into all these different characters, and then from quite a young age, in school, I never took to school. I think I just had way too much energy. And I remember me mad, she called into the office, Colm's, he's messing again. And I was just too interested in looking out the window. I mean, so why did the stars just float up there? Or what's the crack with cloud? I'm just always thinking real beyond the board of just the boredom of the classroom, just looking out the window, what trees made of, getting real deep and all. And so I was in a lot of trouble in school. I remember my ma used to be around with all these different psychiatrists, and as a kid, and I was diagnosed with OCD and fucking ADHD and BBC and TV3, everything was just labeled on me, every thing. And so I felt even more out of place, And then I think I was about 14. And, I was down the field with all the lads, and we were kind of, just having the crack. And one of the lads whipped out a can of beer, and, we whipped out a few and handed me one. And I remember thinking, Jesus, maybe I shouldn't do that, And the old Catholic guilt in me was like, oh, no, man, I don't want to be drinking that can, And that period, again, the peer pressure and the need for approval, the disease to please. I drank this can, and for the first time, I just remember this feeling of feeling normal. I drank this can, and I remember it tasted disgusting. But then moments later, I just felt this ease, this gentleness, just being able to relax and be like normal, like that guy over there that just seems so intuitive. How to exist and not always be in your head and being anxious. Do people like me? What do I say? What do I do? And when I took this drink, I just found, wow, I just felt love. I felt wanted. I felt liked. And, I felt like I morphed into this amazing character. Like it was Tommy Tiernan and Brad Pitt and fucking, Dave Attenborough or something. I just all put into one amazing person, And I loved the effect that God gave me. I was like, wow. And this was what I was missing, And I used to love that effect of drink. And, I remember one time, only early on in my drinking career, I think it was only fucking, 15 or something, on the way home from a session, and, I was drunk out, and I ran over to this wheelie bin. I was with all my friends, and I decided just to jump in it. And the wheelie bin fell over, and then all my friends ran over and picked me up and started celebrating because they thought it was hilarious and so funny, and and pushed me up on top of my shot, picked me up and celebrating as if I won the World Cup. But I just remember this overwhelming feeling of approval and love, and finally I'm accepted. And this was me emotion. It filled that void that I had my whole life. Alcohol wasn't the problem for me. It was the solution, and I loved that effect that alcohol gave me. It made all my dreams come true at once, and because it was mad. Alcohol was a fix-all for me, no matter what was going on in life, it could be insecurities, low self-esteem, the bills are piling up, a broken nail, a broken marriage, ill health problems, mental health problems, parking fines, whatever it was, take a drink and look, sure, it's grand, sort it out tomorrow. And I loved that alcohol just solved everything for me, and it just seemed to transform my whole perspective and outlook on life. I remember walking into pubs hungover, some dodgy pubs, the pubs you'd wipe your feet on the way out, and I'd walk into some Jesus dodgy pubs. I remember one pub I walked into, and I don't know, I just remember what it was like. Oh, Jesus! I remember walking into this pub anyway, And the barman that was on it couldn't stand him, you know. I was like, oh, not this fella, you know. And then I'd sit down and be hanging from the night before, and I'd look over and see the crowd. Oh, not this crowd. They're so dry and boring. And then I'm listening to the song that's on, like, oh, this song is terrible, you know. And then I'd have a point and I'm trying to feel a bit loose. And then I have two, and you know what? I'm trying to feel all right. And then I have three. And I walk into the 3-point world, and the barman becomes my best friend. He's my soulmate, you know. And the crowd are great crack. They're unreal, and they want to know all about me. So I'm going to go up and just tell them all lies about myself. And the song that's playing, this song is my anthem. I want the song played at my funeral. And it just added so much, you know, substance to my life, you know. It was like, it was just amazing, you know. And I remember hearing this lovely quote, and it summed up my alcoholism to a T. It's, alcohol gave me the wings to fly, and then it took away the sky, you know. And that's what happened to me, you know. When I arrived in that 3-point world, my problem was I could never moderate my drinking. Like, my favorite drink was always the next drink, you know. So I loved the net. Look, I'm great where I am. I feel amazing, but imagine the next one. Imagine how good I feel then. And it was this chase, a constant chase. As soon as I had one drink, it just activated this pursuit and beast within me for more, you know what I mean? And like, I used to hate going for rounds with friends because I used to drink really fast. And my mates be sitting there talking about football or talking about work or jobs or whatever. And I'd be there like, hey, mate, my point is gone. They're barely taking 2 subs out of theirs. And I just couldn't be in the present moment. I was like, just, mate, when are you going to get a point? In my head, it's just this narrative. I'm get a fucking point, mate. When are you going to get a point? Like, you know, and I'd be going up to the bar and needing shots and, you know, and it was insanity, like, you know. And as I got older, you know, my drinking got a lot worse. You know, I inevitably 90% of the time I drank, you know what I mean? Maybe more. And my problem with my blackouts was that it was like Russian roulette. I didn't know what type of blackout drunk I was going to be. I didn't know if it was going to be the happy drunk or the sad drunk or the aggressive drunk or the poetic drunk or the wet the bed drunk. And, you know, I was just crazy, you know. And it was grand when I was like 14 or 15. You're going out and you're having the crack and, you know, you're doing all this madness. And you're just bygones be bygones. You're getting away with it. You're wetting the bed and all. But then you're in your 20s and you're still doing that shit. And you're like, all your mates are getting on with their life, and you're kind of still. Oh, you come from a few cans down the bush, like, are you coming down to the pub and look at it, mate? It's Tuesday. You know, it's 4 o'clock in the morning, man. You know, and so, but like, and the thing about alcohol is that it's depressing. So, you know, all the anxieties that I felt and that I was suppressing in my life were getting amplified, you know. So the more I drank, the more anxiety I had. So I was caught in this kind of vicious circle. Like, it was a coping mechanism. So, you know, if we drank, you know, it would feel no, I'd feel great. I'd feel numb for a while, but then I'd wake up and everything be absolutely dreadful again, and I'd feel even worse, you know what I mean? And so I'd drink to help me deal with that, and then I'd feel great again and amazing, but then it caused more trouble, and I'd add to the like line of the crap in my life, and then I go and I do the same thing, and I wake up next day and it'd be fear, anxiety, but I drink again, and that'll solve everything. And so it's caught in this like vicious circle, like, you know. And I was very fortunate that I had family. My dad was actually in recovery. He was a recovering alcoholic, and you know, he kind of seen the road I was going down, you know, and he tried for years to try to get me to go to these 12-step meetings. I said, I'm not going to them 12-step meetings. I'm not that bad, you know. And I thought everyone was just being dramatic, you know, and I'm not that bad, you know. And it was just, you know, my mental health was really starting to decline, you know, waking up absolutely riddled with fear and anxiety. And, you know, on the Sunday, I'd like, I'm never, ever drinking again. And you could hook me up to a lie detector test and I'd pass because I'd mean it. I'd be like, I'm never drinking. That's me doing it, I promise. You know, and like, I remember a girl I was seeing at the time, you know, she gave me like an ultimatum, and because I got in trouble, I said to her, I'm only going out to watch the Liverpool match, and I ended up staying out for the second season, like, you know. And she was like, look, go to the doctor and have a chat with him, and, you know. And And this is me like being declined to go to 12-step meetings with my dad. So I was like, "Yeah, right, I'll do that." So I go to the doctor, and I'm having a chat with the doctor and like telling the doctor what's going on. I said, "Look, I can't eat, I can't sleep. Sometimes I have a cheeky can in the morning, but that's just to kind of help me get more focused on what's going on." And I just feel my anxiety levels are up to the roof and blah blah. And the doctors have got me to this like 20 questions, and I passed with like flying colors. It's the only exam I ever passed in my life. And it's like, are you an alcoholic? Like, and I think I got 100%. Like,
Nailed it.
Can I get that diploma in the post, mate? But and the doctor was like, "Look, Colm, you clearly have a drinking problem. You clearly have a drinking problem. Alcohol is completely like turning your life upside down. You have a very unhealthy relationship with it. And I'd recommend like you stop drinking. Don't drink at all. Like, and I was like, what, stop drinking? Like, and that was unheard of in Ireland, because if you don't drink, there's something wrong with you. Like, if you're a rip-roaring alcoholic getting carried home every night of the week, that's not as bad as not drinking. You know what I mean? Like, that is not bad, but the circle of friends that because I remember meeting a pal. I was off to drink a while now at this age. I'm meeting a friend an old friend in the shop, and he's like, "All right, Colm, you all right?" He goes, "Yeah, you still have to drink?" I said, "Oh yeah, I'm off to drink, mate, a few years now." He goes, "Does that mean, oh really? Does that mean you just have a few cans at home now, does it?" And I was like, he couldn't conceive like not to drink means, oh, you're off the points, like you still have a few, and the whole concept of no alcohol, like, and anyway, so I'm sitting in the doctor saying to me, "Look, Colm, consider not drinking." And I was like, I don't know, like because everything's like built around the pub. If you book a christening or a fucking, a wedding, whatever, it's like all around alcohol, like, I'm there, never ever drink ever again. And I was like, Jesus, I said, look, you clearly have an allergy to alcohol. Like, imagine you're allergic to tomatoes, and you were like, every time I eat a tomato, I black out. I had a couple of cherry tomatoes there, and I woke up in Donegal in a field, and I was just fucking no clothes on. I was like, what the fuck? It only ever happens when you eat tomatoes. You know what I mean? So he's gonna be like, well, why don't you just stop eating tomatoes? Like, you know what I mean? And so I was like, so never drink ever. I was like, okay, yeah, I'll try that. Okay, fair. And then I remember going home, and and my girlfriend at the time was like, "So what did the doctor say?" And I was like, he said just drink at the weekends, and just stay off the spirits, like, but that was the addiction in my mind, and that's what addiction is. It's like, like Gollum out of Lord of the Rings, my precious. And that's what I had living in my brain, was this little beast that just was cunning, baffling, and powerful. That it's like, if you, like, say if you had a bad cockroach problem, and you're kind of having a chat with the cockroaches, being like, "Lads, do you think we should call the Terminator about this?" Like, "Oh no, Jesus, don't do that. Don't call the Terminator. That's a bit harsh, man. Don't do that." And that's what's like when we have like addiction. We're like in our heads going, we're trying to rationalize and justify. Or maybe if I go yoga, or maybe if I like go, vegan, or maybe if we travel over to America, I'll go backpacking, I won't be alcoholic. Or maybe it's the relationship, if we get a new relationship, or a new job, or a new pair of shoes, or maybe a new shampoo, like it's like always something else bar to drink, constantly trying to change the goalposts, and for me, I just completely hit rock bottom. I just kept going that way, like lost my job, relationship, everything, and had nothing, and like literally nothing. Like, and I remember, I was sleeping on my sister's couch, just out of pure manipulation and guilt. She was letting me stay there, and and then finally, the family were kind of having this big get together, and down in Donegal, it was my dad's 60th, and I was invited down, but I really didn't want to go. And my sister said, "Look, Colm, I'm not leaving you here in the house on your own. You'll like, I'm no way I'm trusting it." And she's like, I know I was like literally getting serious withdrawals from drink, and I was in rock bottom with my mental health, and all I was doing was drinking cans and isolating, and just in a really, really dark place, like, And she finally persuaded me to come down. And she said, look, I'll cover your room. So I didn't have a penny at this stage. You know, look, I'll cover your room. You just promise not to drink. And I was like, okay, I promise I won't drink. So we got down to this hotel in Donegal, the family, and we walk into the lobby, and there's a big banner over the lobby saying the All Ireland International Alcoholics Anonymous Convention. And I'm like, what the fuck? Look, there's not a chance I'm going to be able to drink down here. But it was like, I don't know, I think it was like a cheeky setup by my dad, you know what I mean, to kind of get me sober. And you know, and I'm sitting there and I'm kind of looking at all these people going around with their biscuits and the cups of tea, and being like, you know, and like saying everything about AA and being like, I love everything about the AA apart from the whole not drinking thing. Like, you know, I couldn't really get my head around that, you know. And so I went to the one place in the hotel where you wouldn't find a recovering alcoholic. I went to the bar, you know, and I remember just sitting in the bar. And just sitting there, and you know, I was watching a football game, you know, and I got talking to this lad in the bar, and he goes, "You're not one of them alcoholics, are you?" I said, "No." I goes, "Oh, really? Do you want a pint?" I was like, and then got Colm in my head, just struck me, and like all logic went out the window. Like logic was like, "Hey, it's not about you, Colm. You know, it's your dad's 60. You made a deal with your sister. Just spend one day, you know, off the drink." But then like the addiction side came into it and was like, yeah, but you know what? One's not going to do any harm. Like, you know, have one, watch the match, stay out of everyone's way. It'd be grand, you know. And so I had one, but see, the problem is, as soon as I got one drink into me, this whole thinking, you know, my decision making, like that, the famous last words in Ireland, I would just go for the one. But it's the one that, like, if you're hit by a train, it's the first carriage that does the damage, like, you know what I mean? And that's what I was like with a drink, you know, it's like when it was that first drink and my whole thinking just changed instantly, you know. And when I had that first drink, then the Gollum was on steroids all of a sudden. And it's like, do you know what we do? We'll go over to the off license and get drink and stash up in the room that no one will know and get this mad plan. So we do that, and I go buy all this drink and I go and hide up in the room. It's no one will know, you know. I'll get drunk and it'd be grand and greatest thing ever, you know what I mean? And like, and the insanity of the insanity of it all. And I was like, no one will ever know. And I was thinking it's the perfect plan, you know. So I end up getting drunk, blacking out for like a day and a half, and I wake up and I'm after trashing a hotel in a drunken blackout that was hosting an Alcoholics Anonymous convention, you know. And I wake up and my family are in the room, the hotel managers in the room, and everyone's just shouting at each other. And I'm just like waking up like something out of a hangover, like being like, what the fuck just happened? My head is spinning, you know, I'm hungover, you know, there's like, I'm after causing $3,000 of damage to this hotel. And like, no, I didn't harm anyone. I just thought it was fucking like in Rolling Stones or something, just smashing up hotel rooms and lobby, you know, just insanity and just being stupid. And, you know, and it was just madness, you know. And my whole family, there was this moment where everyone just left the room and I was just there on my own, you know, and I was sitting on the bed, my head in my hands, and I just felt broke, you know, I felt hopeless, and I just wanted to throw in the towel there and then. I literally just didn't want to live anymore. And I remember just at that point, you know, there was a knock on my door, and you know, got up and opened the door, and some young dude there with his name tag, you know, and it's like Scott, and he's like, all right, mate, do you remember talking to me last night? I was like, man, I don't remember a thing. I don't remember talking to anyone last night. I said, I don't remember a thing. Like, he goes, you mind if we come in and have a chat with you, like, you know? And he comes in and, you know, starts telling me of his story, you know. He's 2 years sober, you know, and he starts to go into, like, you know, all the, you know, tells me about his drinking story with the blackouts and not being able to have one drink. And I'm like, oh, you do that? Yeah, that's me. And then he starts talking about like that feeling of just not feeling like part of society, you know, like you're on, you just feel like you're a black sheep, you know, you feel like you're on the train and you haven't got a valid ticket, you know, you just don't belong, you know. And all this stuff that I felt my whole life, but I never heard anyone else articulate or talk about it. So I was like, wow, you know, I'm not the only one. Like, and it's like, it's not like you're going to be sitting around the bar with a load of lads, all your mates, and be like, hey, John, Anto, hey, guess a point there, and I'm feeling a bit insecure, will you? You know, but yeah, this guy I was talking, there was like talking about all these things, insecurity, low self-esteem, feeling like an imposter, trying to fit in, feeling fear and anxiety, all these things that I felt my whole life that I've come accustomed to and just thought they were normal and just got on with it, just assumed everyone else felt like that. I never been able to point the finger at it and say, that's what it is, like, and he was like talking about all these things and, I was like, this guy knows what he talks about. He's talking about, like, and that sense of relief. When you have a problem, it's like if you went to the doctor and you're like, "Yeah, there's something up," and the doctor's like, "Oh, what's wrong?" And he goes, "I don't know." Like, he goes, like, where is the point at it? I said, I just feel I just don't feel right. I just feel like there's a hole in my soul, or there's a void, or like, can I give you a cream for that or something? And you're like, no, it's just I can't like quite, And then so when I got talking to this, like when I got talking to this guy, him articulating all this stuff, finally I felt the sense of relief that, well, I'm not the only one. I was able to identify and connect with someone, and he asked me, did I want to come down to one of the 12-step meetings downstairs? And, finally, it was that point, I remember looking back at the bed and kind of seeing like 2 or 3 empty cans there and seeing just me, I have a choice here, go down to this meeting or I can go back to that bed and feel sorry for myself. And it was like, I walked down the side and I looked at him and I seen how fresh and clean he looked and being like, right, this guy must know what he's talking about. And I remember just walking away and I was like, I was just leaving that part of me behind, and going down to this 12-step meeting, and sitting there and like hearing people talk more of all the things I felt my whole life but never felt articulated, and seeing young people there and fresh, clean people. Because I had this, I was like, I had this perception of AA as being like the homeless guy in the park bench that sips vodka out of a paper bag. I thought that was an alcoholic. But when I went to AA, I didn't see any alcoholics. There were all these fresh, smiley, friendly, like tea obsessed people that, that I'm just like, wow, like what? Like this is wow, I was so wrong about this. And, and sitting there and hearing like more of the messages, and I was giving like I was giving like basic kind of advice to kind of like stay with a sober community and, take it one day at a time and, keep coming back. And, and that's what I done, and that was my last drink. That was the 3rd of March, 2013. The last time I've drank, and I'll be 10 years sober in March, and I'm really grateful for my life today, and like when I got sober first, I used to hear people say, "Oh, you'll have a life beyond your wildest dreams from not drinking." And I was thinking, "Oh, geez, I'll be playing for Barcelona or doing a chair on the Late Show or something like that," But what I know today is I really like who I am today, I really love who I am today, and I love my life and I have peace of mind, and these are like, I used to go to bed at night saying, I want, I want the house, I want the car, I want the money, I want all these things. Whereas now I go to bed at night saying, I have, I have a lovely home, I have a fridge full of food, of good mental health, of good physical health, I've so much abundance in my life. And I don't think wealth has anything to do with what you attain or what you possess. I think it's about what you appreciate. That's true wealth. That's a wealth mindset. And today I feel all that. And like, like just putting down the drink was just the tip of the iceberg. I had to do a lot of work on myself, because I was drinking on something, you know what I mean? I felt this low self-esteem, insecurity, fear, anxiety, and I drank on all that. So then when I put down the drink, it's like if you have a leak in your house and you just turn off the water supply, you haven't addressed the problem. You've just put off the supply. And so when I stopped drinking, a lot of stuff came up for me that, I was given the opportunity to work on. I was going to introduce to a 12-step program, and I was introduced to my own concept of spirituality, and see, the thing for spirituality, like I grew up and my mom was a hardcore Catholic. Like she was down in mass every Sunday on time, and we were all there fresh and like with our best clothes and whatever. But I was always intimidated by the Catholic Church. I was just sitting there, just for a kid looking at the Catholic, it's so scary. And the priest there saying, if you don't do ABRC, you're going to hell, you're going to burn, and you're sitting there. And then I remember making me communion. And I thought when you make your communion, you're making in life. You know what I mean? You'll have a few bob. You'll be able to buy a few magnums in the news agents. You know, if you if you show a fella that shows up in your house in a state with a Lamborghini, he's made it. But if you show up to your friends as a 10-year-old with a Magnum, you've fucking made it, like, you know. And I remember thinking, it'd be great making me communion, you know. And I used to always think the communion were like chocolate buttons. And I remember going up making it and just being like, hey, what is that? It's bread, you know what I mean? And that kind of thing. So I just remember being so freaked out by the church, you know. So when I was introduced to spirituality, I was like, no, I can't digest any of that stuff, you know. I just totally shunned upon it, like, and passionately rejected the whole thing. And, you know, and it was, but I was told by someone, man, it doesn't have to be that form of spirituality. It can be your own form. You can get there your own way. It's like there's many ways to get to Dunleary. You know, I'm using Dunleary because I live in Dunleary, but like you can get a taxi, you can get the dart, you can get the bus, you can cycle, you can get a space hopper, you can get a fucking helicopter. You know, you can walk, you can crawl. There's many ways to get to enlightenment. You know, so I was struggling with this whole idea, and you know, I was in a great place. I couldn't sleep, and I remember going for a walk on Dunleary Pier at like 5 o'clock in the morning. And like people that walk down Leary Pier at 5 o'clock in the morning, they're either in a really, really, really good place, you know, really spiritual or just really fit and whatever, or they're in a really bad place, in a very bad place, you know. And that's why I was in the latter end of that, you know, I was in a really bad place. I remember walking the pier and I looked over and I just seen something just shine on my face, you know, and I just felt this peace come on me, and, you know, just this serenity, and like that feeling I got when I took my first drink, where I just felt the void in me getting full, like, you know, and like feeling just okay, you know, just feeling okay. You know, when you're constantly feeling not okay and just all of a sudden you feel okay. And I remember looking over and it was a sunrise and being like, wow, what is that? You know, it was the first time I ever seen a sunrise, when I wasn't like walking home from a session on a Wednesday morning and skagging and being like, oh, you know, and the birds are singing and I was like, oh, I don't want to hear that at all. You know,
it's actually a really good analogy that you have there, though. Like, you have your perception of things when you're either out at 5 a.m. after having your sleep, or you're out at 5 a.m. because you're on the way home from a set. The exact same thing is happening around you, but your perception of them things is either going to make your day or it's completely ruining your day. And it's all down to like your decision in that moment with your mindset. So like that was amazing.
Yeah, no, and that was it. Like, and it was just, but it was the first time that I noticed nature and I noticed sunrise and being like, wow, that's incredible. Like, you know, and I sensed spirituality for the first time. And, you know, and being like, that is it, you know. And from then on, I made like nature my higher power. You know, I connect with God through nature. I connect with the universe through nature, and be it getting in the sea, be it getting up for the sunrise, be it, you know, going up to the mountains on a hike, even through exercise. I love exercise because like that, I have that kind of ADHD mind where I'm full of energy, you know, I'm just full of go. So I always struggle. Like, I remember the first time someone recommended me to meditate, and I done the real, like, in my head, like the meditation starter pack, you know. I went and got the yoga mat and I got the incense and I got like guided meditation. I got all these little Buddhist statues, and I nearly fucking burnt the house down. Like, I think one of the candles fell over and like nearly burnt one of the fucking things on the wall, like, you know, and like it was just a disaster. So I was like, maybe I'm not meant to be a Buddha, you know. And so I was like, so I found my own way. It was like when I ran, I just felt so present. Or when I got in the sea, or when I done ice baths, it's like you can't be thinking about anything else when you're like in an ice bath. You know, you're so in the moment. It's the same with the sea. You know, you get in the sea, you just feel so in the here and now that you're not thinking about, oh, geez, that bill or that thing in work or whatever the thing is. You're just so present. You know,
did you ever do the bed and nails things? Because I know you've done all this mad stuff. We did it in my yoga teacher training where you stand on the nails. Oh my God.
No, that sounds insane. What, you stand on nails?
You stand on nails.
That's
right?
suffering. Is that meant to be well-being?
Oh my God, it's actually crazy. I look up, I can't remember the actual, like, we just call it bed and nails. So you stand on them, but Jesus. It's like, shocks you into presence. Like you can't think of anything else when you're in that moment. But it's actually crazy. Like it's like the shock of getting in the cold water. You're standing there and you're like, I actually cannot think of anything else in this moment. And in them moments, something clicks with you when you're so present. You're like, oh, this is what it's supposed to feel like.
I think I thought it was being great to sea dip, and I think trying to come down for a bit of nail walk, and it's like Jesus,
a bit of a
that's insane.
Sorry.
No, fair. No, get the whole thing where you're just so in the moment, but yeah. So much for that be the new thing now. We know like doing sea dips and everyone doing the nail walking, like we all this yoga people doing like dry robes and walking on nails and shit. Like it's
You get everyone into the water, and I'll get everyone over to walk on the nails. And
this
is a little wellness.
It's a little wellness fest. Here's the nail corner. He's over there beside the yoga studio. We're gonna walk on a couple of nails here.
I really want to ask you, because you've actually mentioned it so many times, and for me, I think it's like one of the main things that I struggle with as well. And you've hit on this so many times in what you said. Ireland in general. You've done a lot of traveling. I've done a lot of traveling. Do you think like the drink culture in Ireland plays a massive role in how hard it is for people to actually give up the drink in this country? Or do you think it's the same in other countries?
I think like my mate lives in Finland, and like them man into saunas, like I think there's more public saunas there than public toilets. Like every house has a sauna. It's insane, but that's how they meet up. They socialize, they go to saunas, they have the chats, and and that's all good. They're getting the sense of community and well-being there. But I think in Ireland, like our way of meeting up is in the pub. You know what I mean? It's like everything is, organized around the pub. As you're a kid, you're like, I can't wait. You're looking at lads going into the pub as a kid, and you're like, well, I can't wait to be grown up and just feel like an adult, in the pub drinking a pint. And like, I remember we were not bringing a mate one time, and I was really bad in the drink, and like just in a really bad place. And I rang a mate, and it was the first time I was actually honest. I said, "Here, man, I think I have a drinking problem." He goes, "Oh, really?" I said, "Yeah, man." He goes, "Come here, do you want to meet up and we can talk about it?" I said, "Yeah, man, I need to talk to someone. I just feel really low and depressed, and just the drink has me in a bad way." And he's like, "Right, go on, do you want to come down to the pub and we'll have a chat?" Yeah, go on. And we went down to the pub and had a few points and discussed my drinking problem over a few scoops. But that's the insanity. But at the same time, we do live in like a society where I think like binge drinking and just unhealthy relationship with food with drinking is justified, and like for you to get sober just seems like such a bizarre thing. Because where do you even start? And what are we going to do at the weekend? Because you'd always associate like a healthy, popular person with a healthy social life, like being out drinking and in the pub all the time, doing what about festivals and Christmas, and so straight away you're gonna be like, oh crap, I'll never have like a social life again, and so it's like it's everything in Ireland is like associated around drink. That's what I used to think until I got sober and I was introduced to a whole new way of life. Like people I know, a lot of my best mates don't drink. The last two relationships I was in was with people that don't drink, like it's like not by accident, not by on purpose. It's just quit. Like it's just, I think as I gravitate more into the sober life, you're just meeting people that don't drink, and it's like it's like I'm like, I have a much better social life now than I ever had. Like I can text them, go for a sea dip, go for a hike, meet friends for like a walk. And not be like a weirdo, like, oh, hey, mate, do you want to come for a walk?
Yeah.
But no, to genuinely go for meet people and like drink doesn't even come into the equation. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's like if you were like lactose intolerant, you're not going to, oh, geez, that means I can't go to fucking that festival anymore because someone puts milk in my tea. Or if you were like a celiac, you wouldn't go, I can't go to that restaurant, I can't go to the cinema, but you can just take drink out of the equation. And what I found as well when I got sober, you know, a lot of the people I was drinking with, they weren't like genuine buddies. And don't get me wrong, I'm close to one or two of them, but they were more like associates. Like a lot of them wouldn't even know my second name, you know,
Yeah.
or know like anything about me personally. Where that, oh, there's Collie, you mad fecker. You're not gonna go on, you mad thing. You know, just that type of, you know, but they weren't, it was me wearing a mask and they were kind of complimenting that. And it's just, you know, but then when I got sober and starting to be myself and come out with my shell and like start to actually be authentic, you know, I didn't need to wear that mask anymore. And I started to actually make genuine friends, actually know me and a concern for me and just want to look out for me, you know what I mean? And my whole social, and like that, is you talk about going traveling. You know, I used to sit in a bar still and talk about going traveling with the lads, you know, oh, someday I'm going to go to Australia. You know, someday I'm gonna go to the, you know, I haven't even been in the fucking, I haven't even been down to Wexford, like, you know, not about going to Australia. Like the only bit of interrail I ever done was getting the, like, you know what I mean? And but I'd be like thinking of all these big mad things I'm gonna do, and you know, they just never happened because of drink. But then when I got sober, you know, and I didn't, I leaned in this to a lot of stuff that scared me, like going traveling or, you know, doing marathons or, you know, doing things that I thought I'd never be able to do because I didn't believe in myself, but I'd done them anyway because I was sober, you know, and my life actually only started to begin when I got sober, you know, and like the whole sober community that's out there, you know, like I follow a few people on Instagram that are like have the sober lives, and it just seems so authentic. It's like when I look at someone that's like just a different, like out in the pub, you know, sitting in the same seat with the same people talking the same crap, but just like a different color t-shirt on. It just seems so monogamous and repetitive, like, you know what I mean? Whereas you talk to someone sober, it's like, what are you up to? I might go to, you know, I might go down to fucking the park, or I might go to New York, or, you know, it's just like the belief and the confidence and the and just the health and the positivity that you meet with people that don't drink, like, you know.
I think part of it as well is like, and I think this is really, really hard. And I don't mean to be like, oh, it's easier for girls, or I think it's harder in Ireland for younger people in general. Like most people reaching out to me, like whenever I put anything up like this, they're like, drink really negatively affects my life, but I actually don't know what to do about it. And I'm like, it's mad that we're so stuck in this culture that we're like, we know this thing is terrible. Yeah. It's actually really negatively impacting our lives, and yet we still don't do it. Exactly like what you said. But I always ask myself in situations now, like over the last few years, when I like think about someone, I'm like, would I meet that person for a coffee? Like actually just go and meet them for a coffee. And not need, and I'd be like, yeah. And I'm like, right, well, that's a friend. And if I think in my head, and this is awful, but if I think in my head, I'm sitting around someone and be like, I need to be drinking with them, I'm kind of a little bit like, what does that say about your relationship? Do you know what I mean? Is it a friend or is it a drinking buddy?
Yeah, but like you hit the nail on the head there when you said like drink is not adding to my life. And that's the thing. If it was anything else, you know, if I had nuts and every time we had nuts, it made me feel sick or made me act bizarre, or, you know, I woke up with anxiety, you know, it'd be only a matter of time before I stop eating nuts and say, right, you know, nuts don't agree with me. And I'd hang around with friends and say, you're not eating nuts anymore. What's wrong with you? You know, we don't want to be hanging around with people that don't eat nuts, you know. And it's like, but it's like with drink though, we'll tolerate it. We're like, oh, it's grand, you know. And because we have this, what did you do on Monday? You know, you're sitting in the work canteen, everyone's hungover. Or what did you do? Or I went to a rave, or, you know, I woke up in fucking Clare in a caravan. And, you know, it's like, oh, you mad thing, you know, it's nearly justified. You know, but it's like if I was to ask myself about alcohol, is alcohol adding to my life or my life? You know, is it preventing me, you know, achieving the things I want to achieve and becoming the person I want to become? And it's as simple as that. Like, you don't need to be a down and out drunk to stop drinking. You don't need to go to rehab or get banned from driving or sleep on a park bench. You know, it's, you know, if you just have to ask yourself, is alcohol adding to my life or not? You know, and how, like, are you just drinking to please the people around you? You know, how low do you feel about yourself that you don't even have enough, you know, self-worth to say alcohol isn't adding to my life, but I'm afraid to stop drinking because what my friends would think. And that's like, ask yourself, like, what sort of friends would not support you making a health choice like that? then they're not then so you're answering all your own questions. There's like, are they actually genuine friends? Are they out for my best interest? Are they, are they just looking for another drinking buddy? Like, and that's the thing. If they're real friends, they completely understand and know your stance and be like, look, I don't need to, drink if I don't feel it's adding to my life, like,
Yeah. I love that. That's so powerful though. Every time you ask yourself these questions, if you're answering them in your head and this is the conclusion you're coming to, you're like, what actually is it adding? Like, but I think I always talk to clients about this as well. Is like, we always talk about like the positive sides of change, and people want to make these massive changes with their life, with their training, with their nutrition.
Yeah.
But I said, like, a good example of this is someone who decides to quit drinking. Like, you've probably like tied this to your identity for so long now that you're like, I'm going to make this massive change. What am I going to lose by making this change? And even though it's going to be a positive thing, part of you is like, oh my God, what if I lose some of my friends? And what if this happens? What if I have no social life? But you answered all them questions perfectly. You're like, okay, well, were they friends if they're not going to support this decision? Actually, I was listening to a podcast you did with your sister, and you gave some really, really good advice in it. And you were saying something along the lines of like, when people start to get sober, it's not that you have to completely change your life and cut everyone out of your life and be like, no, I'm not drinking, I'm not doing anything at the weekend. But you're like, you can't expect to just continue to do everything that you were doing before and just rely on willpower. Like, go to the pub Friday, Saturday, Sunday, but just, I'm not drinking. You know what I mean? So like,
it's that old saying, you can't heal in the same environment that made you sick, or you can't trust the same thinking that got you into the problem in the first place. Like, so yeah, and alcohol's a funny one, because alcohol is a class as a drug through science, and it's actually classed as a poison, because as soon as you put it in your body starts to reject it, like, and the mad thing is, it's the only drug where you have to explain yourself because you don't take it. You know what I mean? It's like not taking it. It's insane. It's and alcohol is the one drug that we have too much of it, and we're ashamed of our behavior, and so we decide not to drink. But then your class is boring, and then it's like you're caught in these two things where you're like, do I go out and like harm my body and like my mind and just like be a shithead and drink, or do I get sober but then worried about what my friends and my peers might think, like, you know what I mean? And so that's the kind of psyche in Ireland, like, but like me, I used to think like that, but then after I got sober and I was introduced to a sober community, I met like real genuine people that I just felt at ease around, and I found out what I like and what I didn't like, because the whole time I was this actor that was just, I had a playlist that you'd think was cool, or I watched like things that other people thought were cool, but I never actually stopped long enough to see, wait, do I actually like this stuff? Like, you know what I mean? And then I started to find out about myself, and I had so many different identities. I had more masks than jackets, I'd be leaving the house and be like, what mask will I put on today? Will I be happy-go-lucky, or will I be the hard man, or the funny guy, or the sports expert? And I finally like being able to put down that mask and be yourself and be at ease, like, you know what I mean? It's a gift, like, it really, really is a gift. And the other thing is, when you get sober, the amount of like I have a few old drinking friends that are sober now as well, because it's like people see the change in you. It's like if you're working with a health client and they go and lose like 20 stone, and people are like, Jesus, who's her coach? Like, I want to hire her. There's visual evidence it works. You can see it with your own two eyes that this obviously works. And so when people see, like, you see you getting sober and they see the change and they see a smile come back, and you actually have to have a belly laugh, a genuine laugh, and they see the health come back and the positivity. People want that. You know what I mean? People are like, wow, look at that person getting their shit together. We want a bit of that, like,
Yeah. But what you said as well, like, you don't have to be like hitting rock bottom and drinking every day. And I think this is where people get a little bit messed up. They have exactly like what you said, the idea of an alcoholic being someone who's drinking every day, and then they're like, oh, but I only drink at the weekends, or I only drink like once every 2 weeks, and like, it's fine, like, but if it's still negatively impacting your life, it's enough. And I was listening to Huberman Labs. He had a really good podcast on about drink and its effect on the brain and stuff like that. And I listened to the whole thing twice and I was like, whoa, like we think that we're moderate drinkers. If you drink, they say 2 a night or like 12 to 24 a week. Now, an Irish person will easily polish off 12 to 24, even if they were only drinking a Friday or Saturday.
Yeah.
Friday,
a quiet one.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, I know for a fact, like me personally, I was like 12 to 24 easily if I was at a wedding. And that's just one day. So I was like, and he talks about the massive negative effects on the brain and everything of like just being in that moderate kind of bracket. And he was like, it actually can take like 3 to 6 months of being completely sober to kind of like reform them neurotransmitters in your brain. And he was like, and that's for a moderate drinker. If you're actually drinking more than that, it can take even longer. So I noticed when I quit drink for like 4 months last year, like over time, it's actually crazy because I've been drinking since I was like 14, 15. So that was like nearly 15 years. And like, it was mad. That was the longest I ever went off it. And I was like, it's actually crazy. Like you start seeing things differently. Like it's like my brain was starting to clear all this fog. And I was just like, you start seeing, it sounds really silly, but I was walking down like around Dublin one of the days and it was around autumn time. I remember just stopping thinking like, holy shit, the colors in the trees, like how have I never noticed this before? Like it was mad. And then basically like life threw a couple of curveballs and then I've had a rough year this year and I'll make all the excuses under the sun. It was wedding, hen party. I kept saying, after this one, I'm going to quit and after this one. And then I like 2 weekends ago, I was at a lecture picnic and then I had a friend's wedding and I felt like shit for 2 weeks. And I literally said to myself, I just thought back on last year and I was like, I'm so done with feeling like this. Like, I was like, it actually does not benefit me. I was sitting there and I was actually sitting at the wedding doing exactly like what you said there at the start, thinking about the next drink. And I was just like, I'm not even enjoying this moment. I'm thinking about going to the bar. And I was like, I actually had a better time at the wedding before I started drinking when I was just sitting there with my friends in like the part where they were having the reception bar. And I was like, and I wasn't drinking, hadn't started drinking. And I was way more present. And that for me just like solidified it for me. I was just like, I just don't, it doesn't add anything for me anymore.
And that's sometimes it's just that conclusion. It's saying, is alcohol adding to my life? You know, is it adding positively to my life? And, you know, being able to take a step back and observe and seeing like, you know, am I genuinely happy? Am I just betraying happiness? Am I just trying to, you know, come across as happy on Instagram or come across as happy to my peers? But if I was to look underneath the surface, am I actually happy? Because I done that for years. I was happy on the outside. I had all the nice shiny things. I convinced anyone I was the happiest man in the room. But I was probably the most insecure and loneliest guy in the room, you know. And usually that it is the old cliche. It's usually the loudest guy in the room is the loneliness, you know. And that's just how I felt. And you know, it can be and like that you talk about the clarity you get when you're sober. And 100%. Like when I stopped drinking, and then I did, you know, I just started to notice things. Like, well, there's always there, you know, was that tree always in my front garden? You know, it's like this stuff that was always there, particularly nature, that I just became so aware of. I mean, like, wow, just at all of these things, you know, and just feeling incredible, like, you know, being able to connect with them and notice them and appreciate them. Like even now, seeing the sun start to set, like, you know, and looking out at the sky and just being at awe of them simple things, like, you know, that just make me feel very wholesome, like, you know, whereas before there'd be a burden, like as you said, walking out from the session at 5 o'clock and the birds are making a racket, you know, and the sunrise is getting in my eyes and it's just making me feel guilty and shameful. Whereas now, you know, I love waking up in the morning to the birds, you know, it's like an orchestra, you know, there's no better Netflix series than watching the sunrise, you know, you won't beat it, you know, it's such a way to connect with the day and just appreciate the day ahead, you know, it's just to be, just to be present in and appreciate sunrise, you know. It's just the gratitude to be there, and that's what my life is gratitude today, because, you know, I'm so grateful for the simple things, because I know what it's like not to have the rite of passage of basic things like my mental health, like my physical health, being able to walk, being able to like even run, being able to go down and swim and not need to not have a panic attack and not have an anxiety attack, and just to feel okay today, and I'm really grateful for all that. I'd be as happy as anything, a cup of coffee, looking at a sunrise, getting in for the dip. I've won the lotto, and for years I used to buy lotto tickets because I always thought if we get a few bob, I'd be happy, a couple of million, I'll be the happiest man alive, but I'm not now. So I've set a condition on my happiness. That happiness is when I get A, B, or C, is a destination addiction. And but then when I started to do that bit of work on myself, all of a sudden I forgot to buy lottery tickets because my life was so good that I didn't need it anymore. I didn't need that belief that I'll be happy when I win the lotto. And I haven't bought a lottery ticket in ages, and so I don't get me wrong, I wouldn't mind winning a few bob, like, but buy one of them gold tinted dry robes, but with diamonds. But today's like I feel really fulfilled. I feel very fulfilled. So yeah, I'm really grateful just for my lifestyle today.
I think like everything you're saying there, and just hearing you saying that just makes my heart so full, because I just think back of like the thing for me is the hangxiety that lasts for a couple of days, because I don't care who tries to tell me that they have a bit of a hangover the day after and then they're fine. Like, it's just not the case. You're not feeling great for a couple of days. And like the amount of people that I've heard say to me, oh yeah, I was feeling like shit until about Wednesday or Thursday, and then I was fine again, so I'm ready to go again. And I'm like, that's madness, that in our head is okay. You spend half your week feeling anxious and horrible, and then you go and do it all again. And I got in that cycle, and I was like, I'm doing this to myself. There's no one to blame for me feeling like this but me. And I was like, I know how good I can feel. I was like, I don't want to feel like this anymore. Not when it's self-induced. We deal, like I said to so many clients, like I was like, our ability to handle stress just goes so far down. Like, so the same thing could be happening to you, and then like your ability to actually handle it, like if you're out every weekend, Monday to Wednesday, you just can't handle stress. And then we wonder why everyone is saying they're anxious and they're depressed and they're stressed and high stress levels, and everything is just like, but we'll go to the pub at the weekend to forget about it.
And see, that's the madness of it. It's like, my problem wasn't that I was a slow learner. I was a quick forgetter, like I'd wake up on a Sunday in a jock, and like, as you said, the hangover, riddled with fear, anxiety, didn't want to turn my phone on because I didn't want people to tell me what I'd done last night. And like the little problems, or the bill, or the cup I need to put in the dishwasher, become like massive problems, and I can't cope with things, and just leave me alone. And and it's like, just everything is like mountains to molehills, or molehills to mountains, and everything's amplified and comes a million times worse. Like, so like anxiety and steroids, like it's just like I can't handle it. And then slowly that starts to go away, on your New Year's resolution, I'll give up the drink. Or maybe I'll wait till January to give it up, and then Thursday comes, and Friday, then it's like you're brand new, and you're like, fuck, I'll go out, and next thing Sunday comes, and you're the exact same person, and you're like, there's like that flash out in Men in Black. It just, your whole memory, you seem to get like drunken Alzheimer's, that you forgot like literally a couple of days ago how crap you felt, and now you're just like, I should be grand, you know what I mean? I'll go handy, I'll just have the one, and then it's straight back to square one,
and then it's like, now one thing I never did get into, in fairness, was the cure. When people are like, well, just go for the cure, I'm like, oh, you're literally just prolonging your hangover. I was just like, no, I can't. But like, the other thing like that baffles me, and I suppose like, look, it's a multi-billion-dollar industry, the alcohol industry, and the amount of tax that the government and stuff is making, so I understand like advertising or whatever, but like, just even I was listening to the statistics of like how it increases breast cancer in men and women, like crazy percentages with just moderate alcohol consumption. I was like, and no one knows about this. I was like, it's actually mad. Like, as you said, it's a poison, and we're just talking about it like it's grand, it's just a couple of pints. But like, say if someone wanted to quit drinking, what would be like your main tips of advice for them, like starting from scratch? If they were probably these people who are saying they're on the fence, they don't really drink that much, but it is negatively affecting their lives.
Like, I'd say get out the pen and paper and do a bit of journaling on it. Say if you didn't drink, like, why have you come to the conclusion, first of all, that you don't want to drink? Like, you know what I mean? Obviously, it's causing some problem in your life. If it's, you just feel low, you just want to change, or maybe you just want to do it for a health reason, or you just want to better yourself. But I get out a pen and paper and just be like, you know, what are the benefits of not drinking? You know, where could that take me if I stop drinking? You know, and if I stop drinking, could I get into, like, you know, sea dipping, or, you know, hiking or whatever, or maybe just waking up fresh, or not going into Monday feeling exhausted and, you know, lethargic, and, you know, like the right, the pros and cons of it, you know what I mean? And if you come to a conclusion that you don't want to drink, like investigate that, investigate, why do I feel like I want to stop drinking, like, you know what I mean? And then just say to yourself, can you stop drinking? Like, give yourself, like, you know, I know my good friend Andy Ramage, he wrote that book, 1 Year No Beer, and he said he just made himself a goal to give it up for 30 days, you know, and he felt so good after 30 days. He said, why not 1 year? And then he started this whole movement, you know, and this, like, community of people that support each other not drinking, you know, and like, as you said, your energy levels, you know, you're more present, you're in better mood, you're in better form. You know, you're saving a few bob. I'm probably more broke now. I spend all my money on lattes out of Starbucks. But
Me
too. But you know what I mean? But it's, ask yourself, like, is drink adding to my life, or is it taking away from my life? Is it preventing me becoming the ideal person I want to become? You know, and if you're the kind of like, you know, if you feel something's out of control, you know, or something if you're trying to control something, then it's probably out of control, you know. And again, you don't have to be like chronic alcoholic with, you know, cirrhosis of the liver, like, to stop drinking. But ask yourself, like, is it adding to my life? Is it, can I become the ideal version of myself? I can continue to drink, like, you know, and then give it a trial run. Give yourself a few days, see how you feel after, or a month. And, you know, if you feel like, yeah, the community, I find, is a massive part. If you can find, like, a sober community and people you can be around and stuff, that's also don't drink, you know, that's a massive help as well.
Yeah. And come here, my last question for you, because your life is awesome. What are, like, your top milestone things you've done since? I know from stalking your Instagram the amazing things you've done over the last few years. But, like, what are your top milestone things you've done since you quit drinking?
Oh, I've done a lot of stuff. I don't know. I'm trying to think, you know, like, top things I've done. You know, like, I've done marathons, I've done Ironman, you know. I went solo backpacking around the world, you know, and I really enjoyed that. You know, I was afraid, and at the time I was in a really bad place. I was a few years sober, but I had a really tough year, you know. My dad passed, you know, and I went through a relationship breakup, and I was in a really toxic job. And so my mental health wasn't in a good place. I was coping though, you know, and I was really blessed that the people I had around me. But I was going through, like, this kind of quarter life crisis type thing. And I remember being like, will I travel or not? And that fear of going. And I remember just, like, handing in my notice in the job and jumping on a plane and going to Thailand, and going, like, Thailand, Vietnam, Cambodia, Bali, and having such an incredible experience, and doing it all sober, doing it all on my own, and meeting, like, all these incredible people, and, you know, and then just sitting there reflecting and being like, wow, you know, I wouldn't be here now if I was sober.
Yeah.
Or sorry, if I was still drinking, I wouldn't have been here if I wasn't sober, like, you know. And just that feeling of, wow, this is it, you know. But, like, this morning, to be honest, like, this morning I even went for a run, and, you know, and I got into this, it was pissing rain. I went for a run, loved it. And I got into the 40-foot lashing rain. It was the only one there, you know, and I just felt like I had the 40-foot to myself. And I had that exact same feeling I had in Thailand of, wow, I'm so grateful for my life. And I get them little moments quite often to that, you know, where it's like, wow, like, life is so good. And it's usually because of the simple things. So yeah, for me, I think the biggest milestone is just liking where I am today, liking myself, going, like, you know, because I was so cruel to myself over the years. You know, I was my own biggest critic and my own biggest bully. You know, that little voice in my head that was just ferocious and vicious, and Whereas today, you know, I don't have to listen to that voice, you know, and I enjoy my own company and I enjoy being around myself. I don't need to run from myself anymore, you know, and I don't have fear anymore, you know, I can go and do whatever the thing is and just do it and enjoy
Yeah.
it. And yeah, so I'm just really grateful for my life today.
I love it. You're so inspirational. Every time I look at your Instagram and stuff, I'm always just like, oh my God, he's homeless now, or now he's doing an Ironman. And I was like, it's something different every other week. But I love that. And like, I love how, like, I'm going to say it, in love with yourself you are. But I think that's something that we all need a lot more of. And in Ireland, it's very like, oh yeah, she loves herself and he loves himself. And I'm like, and what's wrong with that? Like, we need to get over that. We need to actually start accepting that it's okay to love ourselves, and maybe then we won't be relying on all these other things to make
That's
us
the
feel
thing. It's just live and let live. You let people are gonna, you know, what my dad say to me, what other people think you was only a business, like, you know, so just do your thing. People are gonna do their thing as well, you know, people are gonna do, and haters are gonna hate, but and potatoes are gonna potato, but you just gotta do your deal, like, you know, and be yourself and don't worry about what people think. Like Memento Mori, you know, I love Marcus Aurelius, you know, he's a philosopher, you know, and it's all about stoicism and like life's short, and you don't want to be like, was this podcast, this psychologist, you know, and he used to work in a hospice and talk to people before he passed away, and he said a lot of their regrets is that they spent too long worrying about what other people think. They spent too much time working and not enough time like maintaining and being present in their relationships in their life, you know, and they realize that the most important thing in our life is to relate the relationships that we have around us, like, you know, so, you know, don't worry about what people think. You just go and like realize that life is short. Surround yourself with people that make you feel good and make you and do things that make you feel happy, and you know, live your best life. You know, stop giving a shit what people think. You know,
we make life so complicated, like, and then when you actually think back in it, like I've been listening to like loads of different podcasts and stuff, and they talk about your guidance system, your intuition and stuff. They were like, stop overcomplicating it. Like, if it feels fucking good, go and do it. If it doesn't feel great, why'd you keep doing it? Like, I know some things in life we have to push ourselves or whatever. You're training, you want to train hard. But in them situations, I'm kind of like, they're usually things that your future self is going to thank you for. So I was like, they're okay. But I was like, ultimately, we really do overcomplicate it. We care too much about what other people think, even though you don't give a shit about their lives. Like, you're not caring what your neighbor is doing. But I was like, we care too much about what other people think, and then we just keep focusing on like what we don't want, instead of just focusing on, this feels good, this actually makes my heart feel really, really warm, I'm actually going to go and do more of this. And I'm like, that's how simple it can be if we just of listen to ourselves a bit.
So true. Yeah, I love that.
I love it. Well, thank you so much, Colm. I was just like, I love that. I was like, I wonder how long we're going to talk for. And I was just like, I blocked out an hour and a half because I was like, I have a feeling me and him are going to have a lot to talk about.
Podcast marathon. I'll talk to you all day. You know, I love having chats like this. You know, you just meet people on the same kind of level as you, and you know, you can just be real. You can be authentic. You can be vulnerable, and you can be open. And you know, if one person's listening and it helps one person, then it's been a massive success. You know, and that's what's the great thing about putting out this content. You know, that it's out there to help someone identify or put someone in the right direction, or you know, inspire them to you know, make the best choice for themselves, you know.
I think vulnerability is a superpower, and something I leaned into a lot more since I started coaching was actually showing more of that side and actually getting more of a response, because I was like, gone are the days of wanting to see everyone doing everything perfect. Like, people want relatable people, and people want to be able to talk to people they feel like they can resonate with. And I was like, the more we can openly talk about all these things that still, in my opinion, people don't talk about enough, especially as younger people. Like what you said, we all have this idea of everyone in AA being like 60 and all. And I was just like, it's just not the case. Like, and I don't think it's talked about enough. So I really, really appreciate it. And I really enjoy your podcast.
Cheers.
Right, Colm, the next time we do it, we'll do it in person, and I'll go for a sea swim, okay?
Yeah, for sure. I can't wait. Bring the joy roll, the gold tinted joy roll.
Definitely.
All right.
Well, I will chat to you soon and enjoy your evening.
Right.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Teresa. Thank you.
Bye.